I have an answer for you.
I have coupons.
Yes. Yes. That's the answer.
Linda, do we have this?
Is yes.
They should be printed somewhere, right?
Okay.
Somebody has it.
More. Can you make the mirrors first?
Can we order those then?
Yeah. Or you make them in house, I think, or used to.
Coupons. I aired a thing for the chamber that said, talk about your favorite restaurant.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
I won
No.
this bag, and it's
Nice.
got like $70 worth of coupons from the different places.
Send me the link.
Well, it's over with.
Oh.
It's nice.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
And I was surprised.
Oh gosh. Someday it'll be over. Okay. Hi, Ruth.
That's my Friday or my Thursday.
Next Thursday.
That's tomorrow. What?
Permission to sit up here so I can
No, that's not tomorrow.
next to Scott.
Yeah, sure.
I just want to be able to see the numbers.
This is the May 22nd, 2018 special meeting.
Are we
Open
starting
session.
at 3 or we're just?
It says 3 o'clock.
I did the closed session thing.
And this 3 o'clock are difficult for me when I pick my boys at 4 again.
Okay. Well, we'll move right along. Because I have to be done by 5 anyway.
Okay. And I have a 5 o'clock meeting.
So you need to be done before 5.
Ride takes me 2 minutes to fly across
10 minutes
town.
from anywhere in Oroville. I know. I didn't realize it
It's
started
true. I love that.
somewhere. Anyway, I was in Chico. I had a Chico appointment, and I sat when I was done with lunch. Because it was acupuncture and then a lunch meeting. So I sat in my car doing all of my emails, thinking, well, I'll get here early. So I'll sit there doing the emails, and then Bill calls and says, "Are you coming?" And I said, "It's at 3, right?" He says, "No, it's at 2." And I said, "What's going on?"
We have 2 minutes.
When did you change it to 2?
Oh, that was because of the.
Yeah, but when?
When was that changed? Actually, 2.5 weeks ago. After the interview. Can't smell it.
No, I can taste it.
Oh.
So how long is it going to take, Ruth?
No.
What?
No. You're sick. I'm sorry. Ooh.
How come?
The
Your son got married this past Saturday, so you missed the. You had your own royal wedding. Huh?
Oh, she said the real.
That's neat.
Well, there was a conference last week, and it was some of the speakers that they have at these events are so inspirational.
Yes.
The guy's name now, of course, now I can't remember who it was. Completely blind mountain climber, and he climbed the Muru. Is that it? The Muru, and he wrote a book. Well, they had him on stage talking about this.
Oh, wow.
Because my friend Tracy's blind. This guy he says, well, the one thing I did learn about like climbing, mountain climber and being completely blind, he says there's not too many of us. It's like you can't, it's hard to find a mentor.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh. At the CalPERS conference, they had a paralyzed mountain climber for their inspirational speaker.
Right. Actually, when they had doing it too. But
that was the same one.
and then the guy that won, they gave the awards out. They call it the Ray Lynch Award. The people that did that in the community, and out of the entire United States of the people in the regions, because there's like 8 or 9 regions. He's from Sacramento, California, and his name is Zach Wandell. Unbelievable what this guy does.
Same guy Zach sounds familiar.
I'm sorry?
I'm thinking that's the guy that was at CalPERS. Zach.
Wandell?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was local.
Well, he volunteers at the hospitals and stuff. He's just unbelievable stuff. Welcome, everybody. We're back from closed session. This is the Oroville City Council special meeting, May 22nd, 2018. Did we do roll call already? Let's do it again. Make sure everybody's here.
And the roll call for the 3 o'clock session is Councilmember Jack Berry.
Here.
Councilmember Marlene Del Rosario.
Yes.
Councilmember Linda Draper.
Here.
Councilmember Art Hatley.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Thompson. Vice Mayor Janet Goodson.
Here.
Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer.
Here.
All present.
Let's stand for the pledge. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Attorney Huber,
Yes.
what's the reporting from closed session?
As to item 2.1 and 2.3, no action was taken, direction was given. And as to item 2.2, we will reconvene to close session for item 2.2 after the discussion regarding budget.
Thank you. So stated. Okay. I'm having a hard time reading these agendas, just so you know. The format is a little bit more difficult. Proclamation and presentations, there are none. Non-agenda items, there's nobody here to speak on non-agenda items. Consent calendar, there are none. Public hearings, there are none. Regular business, moving on to item number 8.1. Conduct the third in the series of the budget workshops. Staff will present. Moving on to Ruth. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. The first slide we're going to look at, or actually I'm just displaying a worksheet, is a general fund revenue and expense history for 15 years. I apologize, it's so small, but I was asked to do 15 years, so here it is. It's hard to fit on a page. But you'll see a line for the revenues, and that will be your green bar, and a line for expenditures, and that'll be your blue bar if you look at the graph. And it shows 15 years of revenues and expenses. And I believe we went through this before, but I wanted to update it so that you could see where we are today. If you go all the way to the most current year, 16-17, that is our last audited year. We're currently in 17-18 and almost ready to wrap it up. But you could see that I've highlighted the $4,794,082. That is our current fund balance as of the end of last year, and it was audited, so that is the number. You could see that we had a $477,000 and $282 surplus last year, and that was probably due to all of our vacancies. So moving forward to this current year, our projection, I've separated the expenditures a little bit so we can look at the unfunded liability and how it's growing disproportionately to our payroll. So the revenues are estimated revenues projected through the end of the year, and then our budgeted for the next year, $13 million. We had several one-time revenues in this year. I wanted to show them differently. So you can see that FEMA year-to-date has paid us $366,000. And we had prior year grant revenue that Mike Massaro found for us for $91,000. So that is all the one-time money that I've identified in this year that is included in the revenue line above. So we are looking at another surplus for this year, around $423,688. there's a lot of things could happen in the next few months, but that's where we are now. We may even receive more FEMA money, so we could end up with a more of a surplus. I do want to mention that this year was really tough to budget because we had a lot of vacancies again. We kept them funded, but there was still a lot of vacancies and a lot of lapses in time before we hired somebody else. So it was a really hard year to budget for, but I believe this year is going to end with another surplus. So if you go down below that, I want to show how that's going to affect our fund balance, because I've been asked to show when we're going to run out of money.
Question for you before we move on past it. On the revenues, is there a reason why going on from here 18, 19, we have, you know, with the opening of the bigger Walmart and Ross, and why is the revenues projected to go down and not even recoup back up to near where we are now until 2020?
It actually is, if you look at the revenues with the one-time money pulled out of it, it is less. It's about 13 million. Actually, it's probably 12 million 9. And so if you have to back out the one-time money of 458 out of the top line to see what the true revenue was.
I see. So the number's lower because of one-time money.
Yes.
And council member and council members, we can certainly provide you with the sales tax history, because it is actually positive and going up. I think it was 3%, 3.6%.
Yeah.
Have we seen, with, how long does it take, just educate me as a new guy,
Okay.
when a new store opens, or Walmart or Canada, Starbucks, you know, those things as they open, is it immediate?
Immediately starts collecting sales tax, and they remit it to the state quarterly. So we won't see it until after it's remitted to the state in the next distribution. So it could take up to 4 months for us to see any revenue from that. Yes. Yes, we will be seeing, we've already included Harbor Freight and Ross and Smart & Fall. We've included those in our projections.
In regards to some of these fast foods that we have, I think with franchise, like McDonald's or your Arby's and whatnot, do they pay specifically what comes out of what is made in that store, or is it you know, by average or by capital?
That's exactly what they collect at the store, at the restaurant. Yeah.
So I have a question in regards to with the spillway incident came feast. We're in a feast, and eventually we're going to go back feast famine.
Yes.
So last year, what were the revenues that came in from the Kiewit workers? And it looks like that work, I think it's going to end April 2019. What's the projection and downsizing in revenue?
I could show you a different worksheet if you want to get into the revenues a little bit more, which I will do. I just kind of wanted to get through the forecast so that we could see when we're going to run out of money, and then we'll jump to the preliminary budget and we'll go line by line. And also, your question on the fast food, we do our Muni Services really does a good job, and they'll come and tell us, oh, you know, the Carl's Jr. is going to outperform your Arby's by 30,000. I mean, they're watching all of that stuff for us.
What he mentioned to me was he's making more in this Oroville store
Yeah.
than the others.
Yeah.
A lot more. So.
Yeah, I think it's very popular.
I'm sorry, which franchise were you talking of?
Carl Jr.
Of the Carl Jr.'s.
On Olive Highway.
Yeah.
Project, what figure? She can hear me. What figures do you use to project? How do you get the information to make your projections?
It's based on actual, and then we do an inflator year by year and an actual projection. We know that payroll's going to increase. We know 75 people have a 5% step increase, and that's all built in. It's based on
projections for payroll, but I'm talking about things like Ross. You do projections.
They know because of Ross is another city, and they kind of know our area, and they'll, you know, based on population. And
so your figures depend on their reporting to you.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And they've been very, very good. They've been
Okay.
on. We haven't been caught short. So if you look below the revenues and expenses, I kind of carried forward how that's going to affect our fund balance. So we're beginning this year with a fund balance of 4.7 million, projecting a surplus of 423,000. So our fund balance will go up this year. And then next year, you can see that we're going to have a deficit situation because of the increases in our unfunded liability. And if you look above, there's a separate line for the unfunded liability right here. And I separated it out of the salaries and benefits because I want to show how much it is increasing exponentially. And I also have to mention that this is an estimate that we receive annually from PERS. This estimate will go down in August, but for this budgeting year, these are the numbers. And I'll change them again in August.
So we get a statement in August, and the last statement we got, and I don't know how they did this, but PERS return was 0.6. This August is going to reflect an 11.2% increase. So the numbers will go down, but it doesn't mean that in the next year they won't go back up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see we're starting into a deficit year next year, this budget cycle of 331,000. And the next year our PERS is going up. We'll have another deficit of 681. And what people don't understand is they think that that's just our deficit, but you have to add them all together. It increases. You have to add the 331 to the 681. It reduces our fund balance every time. And it goes all the way to year 2023 is when we will actually run out of fund balance. So I have kept the 1.5 million in there. That's our general fund reserve, and that's something that we should never drop below. It's actually too low because when you have fund balance at the end of the year, there's 5 different categories that you have to put it in. We have committed, reserved, unassigned, assigned, and we have other obligations in there like POs and things that carry over from the prior year. So 1.5 is pretty bare bones, but in 2023, that's when we're going to get down to there. And for purposes of showing you how our fund balance is going to be affected, I have just taken it down to 1.5 million. As I said before, the estimates are going to change. So this is just to show when we run out of money. So what I've done is I've shown the loss for that year of 1.4 million. And then I have us showing us using our PARS account for the first time. So we can dip into that PARS account, which I'll show you another slide. I think we've committed about 4 million, or we could commit about 4 million to it. So this is the first year we're going to have to use it in 2023. And this is to kind of stabilize ourselves through the bad times. And the next year we're going to have to use 1.2 million, and the next year 776,000, 900,000, 300,000, and then we're out. We are out in 2027. Based on these projections, like I said, they're going to go down in August. So we might be able to make it to 2028, I don't know. But we are out in 2027 if we want to maintain the balance of 1.5 million. If we want to use that too, I guess we could take it down even further. But it just kind of illustrates how bad the picture is with the unfunded liability. So we really are dependent on several things happening.
Like the state legislature changing the laws.
So I just wanted to go over, oops, I didn't finish that. I think it's 49. So significant changes from last year. Our unfunded liability went up 364. Our workers' comp rates increased 220,000, which was
Huge.
almost double because of all the payouts we've had, and Liz can speak to this better, but it was a lot of payouts and we have to catch back up, and so we increased our workers' comp rates considerably this year. I wanted to also mention that the pay cuts that we instituted in this current budget year weren't a full year. So we started in August and then in September, so it isn't a full year of budget cuts, pay cuts. They came to 446,000, so it's going to be more like 600,000 if we continued with the pay cuts. weren't sure what to put in there for a city administrator, so we have 150,000 plus benefits. I think it takes it up to a little over 2. And we have a one-time FEMA revenue of, I think that should be 366, but possibly more coming. I don't know if it'll be in this year or next year. We have the grant revenue. We have the interim city clerk in there for 6 months. We didn't really know what to do with the planning department. Sorry, let me get these off. So we have budgeted a half position in the planning department for the front desk to be able to answer planning questions, and we talked about maybe getting that person some training, but we took the position of assistant planner and we put it to consultant.
And Ruth, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
The planning, the .5 staff assistant, was
Yes.
that prior to the one that just left?
No, this is somebody who's currently on staff that will be answering questions up front. So we moved the assistant planner salary to outside services in case we needed to hire a consultant. And we froze the assistant police chief position that was recently retired. And we added 1 police officer. Hopefully we'll recruit that at a pepper rate, so it won't be a large PERS increase. So those are kind of things that are different that we're hoping to get direction. If you're not happy with any of the things that we did there, now's the time to talk about it.
On the, where you're gonna freeze the, no, back up.
Assistant chief?
The assistant police chief, now, is that still gonna be funded, or is that gonna be frozen unfunded?
We included funding for just the police officer, not the assistant police chief. So I guess basically it's frozen,
So then,
not funded.
right.
Yeah.
That money from the savings from that would pay for the police officer.
Yeah, and
that
there'll be
would
some
a-
budget savings.
That would be a savings
Yes.
because,
Yes,
yeah, okay, all right.
yeah.
How is that going to affect you not having a assistant police chief?
I believe it'll be fine because we had structured for growth that didn't occur, so we have an adequate number of lieutenants in the department that can pick up that position.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to let council know that all of this was discussed with Bill and Tom and I, so it was a collaborative effort. So I didn't do anything that Bill wouldn't be happy with.
So for the assistant planner salary, that was Lewis was in that position, right?
I believe
And
so.
those monies were just transferred to the planning consultant,
Mhm.
any outside contract, or specifically,
We currently
whose
don't.
department would that be?
We currently don't have a contract with anybody. As if the consulting need arises
Would
and somebody comes
arise.
in, then we would come back to council, have that money that is in there to utilize for a consultant if need be. But right now, there is no necessity to have one.
Okay, thank you.
Liz has, I think, something to add to this.
The assistant planner was Don's old position.
Oh, okay.
We have the assistant planner and the associate planner, which was Luis's
Okay.
old position. So there
Oh,
are 2
all right.
positions.
That are both not
Associate
funded.
and assistant.
They're both not funded. Basically, there's nothing in the planning department budget except for a half a position for the front desk. So other things, I just want everybody to be aware that these are estimates and several things will change. When I come back to you next year, you might want to know why the numbers change, but several things could happen. We are hoping CalPERS continues to do better investing. Keep hearing about the economic downturn. I keep hearing about it. It hasn't happened yet, but people say, oh, there's factors that kind of coming out that show it's going to happen, but I haven't seen it yet, but we really need to be ready for that. And we have built-in recession scenarios in our sales tax, which could in fact impact us up to $500,000 to $800,000 in sales tax. Other things that we're working on for the preliminary is we're wrapping up our new cost allocation plan. It was kind of a lot of back and forth with the consultants on getting that implemented, but we're really trying hard to get that done. And the health insurance we put in there, I think Liz said that was about 4 to 7% increase. So we estimated 7% just to be covered in case. But if we get that number before the first meeting in June, when we bring you the preliminary budget, we'll have that all adjusted to actual. And of course, there's potential revenues with the sales tax increase measure, the potential cannabis revenue. So a lot of things are going to affect these projections. But as of today, the way things are going now, status quo, we're going to run out of money in 2023 and start using our pension stabilization fund, and we'll be out of money in 2027. So I just want to show you well, this was our PERS slide that showed.
If you blink really fast.
Ruth, I have a question.
Okay.
What's in our reserve?
We have a general fund reserve of 1.5 million,
1.5.
but our total fund balance is 4 point,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that number was.
4.2 something.
4.794.
Where is that?
4.794 is our last audited fund balance.
And I saw that, and I can't find. Oh, here it is.
The changes in fund balance at the bottom.
Okay.
No, that's general.
I just want to mention that there's much more to fund balance. There's like 5 different categories that this gets sliced into, but I'm just showing you the total that we have. The 1.5 million is included in here.
Mm-hmm.
And also we did, last time we talked about it, in the last 15 years, we looked at the high and the low. So our high was 2011. We had almost $5.5 million in there, and our low was 2.8. I believe that's when we wrote the check for 1.8 million to the state that we will be getting back.
Yeah, 2013 it was the lowest.
It's not letting me open any other worksheets. I just wanted to show you how I came up with the amount that we have committed to our PERS stabilization account, our Section 115 trust account. We have designated pay cuts, we've designated the one-time grant money, and we often come to council if we have one-time money and ask you if you would like to put it in there. We hope to continue to do that. I don't know at what point, if we're going to put everything in or if we're going to try to carve out some one-time monies for other expenditures, but those are decisions that we can make on a one-on-one basis. So that was the sheet I was trying to open. And I also have, well, likes that sheet. No, it's not letting me open any other sheets.
Can you transfer that to Dawn?
Anyway, I think the important things to remember is that we are looking at a surplus, another surplus this year, and we're looking at our first deficit year for 18-19. We'll try harder to bring that into balance. I'm not sure how the health insurance and the cost allocation are going to apply to 18-19, but I think these are pretty close with a really small margin of error. So it was really basically to let you know when we're running out of money, when we need to use our stabilization account. Instead of focusing on the current budget year and trying to get it balanced, I think it helped to look forward and to see how far this is going to take us.
I think the key is that council's done a good job year to year. You really have. But there's going to be continued emphasis and pressure to put funds aside to cover the PERS increases so that the future doesn't materialize like this. And so far, you've done a good job of that. So far, the end-of-year balance is higher than would have been projected, and that's the way it should be if you're doing good fiscal planning, which Ruth does.
Yeah, I expect this year to have another surplus just because we've had so many. Well, we have the one-time money. We should always have a surplus for that, but also the vacancies. They're
Right.
looking at the vacancies. It was, again, another year. It's not going to show on our position control because we're only freezing a couple, like the assistant police chief. And we're going to go ahead and fund the vacancies, hoping to replace them. But I think there's going to be more savings from vacancies. Any more questions?
Great job, Ruth. Thank you for all that work.
You know, it's not very often I use this word, but I appreciate you being so punctilious.
Thank you.
And I would remind council, we do have another closed session item then based upon this, the negotiations.
Okay, so are we done with this part of the meeting?
We are?
Hey, you might actually get out. Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Okay, so we're gonna reconvene to closed session. Thank you.
Punctilious. Absolutely meticulous. Oh, you looked it up.
Oakley and Sutter Creek. So he's jumping.
Did you see the same